Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bus Stop. This is where we do a bit of a recap from the last episode. That was episode 7. We have one more left.
We got a season finale now?
We have a finale coming up.
Yeah, right?
I finally get a finale.
You and me both, buddy. You and me both.
Oh, it's good. That was really
That
good.
was a good one.
Well, that's a wrap, folks, on Bus Stop. We'll end
That's
there.
what Bus Stop is about.
Yeah.
You do not have what it takes.
First question I have is some more reveals about Hellbent and her potential fate and what has happened. Where are you all at with that? What are your hopes for where she is and potentially what she has been taken for? Is that clear for everyone? Andy knows. Look,
Never.
Andy has thoughts. Tell us,
Your
Andy.
thoughts, Andy?
No,
Okay.
no,
No spoilers?
no. Come on, Andy.
Spoil it.
Well, that's
All right.
That's what this is for.
I feel like Mickey's still here.
I mean,
Spoilers.
I'll say as much as I'll say, given how Mickey feels about the situation. I'll
Sure.
respond that way.
Sure.
I think that's only appropriate. It's not too meta.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think because it seems like for a lot of like people who are probably watching him, for people I'm playing with, it seems like there's like a lot of stuff that's reeling in. For Mickey, I think for him, because he's like digesting so much right now and going through the situation, a lot of it is like still kind of like information that's not super new to him. You know what I mean? So things like, the fact that she's missing, she was attacked, they have been together for a long time. It's not new news to him. For him, he's like, this is new information to me. Like, how's this going to help me much more moving forward? Like, what telling them like, what's that going to help? And maybe it's a little bit naive because maybe it would. I mean, these guys just made a character connection, which I'm super excited to talk about. But maybe he's not benefiting from stuff like that just because he's a little bit closed off. But I think that's just I think just genuinely how he would respond. So.
Yeah. What about the rest of you?
I think for Dara, it's like pretty surreal. Like, Dara came into the Mournlands expecting to just feel a certain type of way about this being like her old homeland. And through it, we're seeing how connected all the other player characters are to this land as well. So, Dara expected to really have the lay of the land, and like, it's maybe for her, she's feeling a little less alone. Like, this is such a place of ruin for her, and obviously there's a lot coming up for everyone else through this too.
And I guess too, like she probably felt like the Incubus and Hellbent like saved her, and it was everything she had potentially.
Oh yeah.
And now
absolutely.
realizing, holy crap, there's so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like big time. I mean, Incubus was her home. Hellbent was, had essentially taken the place of Gildy for her over the last 6 months on the bus, and now, as this plot thickens, she's got a lot of question marks in her head about it.
Well, and I when trying to create a feel, because it's never my goal to create a feeling, I guess, for each individual character, but try and think, of what impact it could have. And, when Dara is going into her homelands, essentially, I kind of didn't want it to just play to the feel of, like, she knows everything about this place. I wanted to almost be reminiscent of, like, this is so different and so outer body from what you really call home now. This place isn't home anymore. It's what you're missing now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any burning questions that certain cast members have for other cast members regarding their character?
Stares
That's putting
at
you on the
Andy.
spot. Yeah.
Everyone stares at Andy, right?
I really want to know about what's going on with Magvar and Olaf. I just like, I know it's just we're barely touching on that connection, but like to me it's so curious. I feel like Mickey's known Yokai in the bus the longest and has heard a lot about it's like when you talk about your shitty old boss, like he said about it a lot. So
yeah,
I think for him he's just like really curious as to like I don't know. Would Mickey know Magvar has mentioned that name before? I don't think so either. So I think maybe that's a new thing for Mickey too. That he's surprised that there's like this connection that he's not a part of and a strain to at all that involves their past lives.
And I don't really talk. I mean, I talk about my mentor plenty, or my old boss, or who I learned the little bit of arcane knowledge that I even have. But I don't say his name very often.
Yeah.
So it was kind of it was crazy for me to even tell like Drillidus that name, because he wanted a story, and that's what he was looking for, is that like tit for tat, name for names kind of thing. That's one of the only times I've ever even spoken his name. It wouldn't have just like slid out in conversation all the time. So that was a big deal for me to like kind of reveal this big thing, and I thought it was like, oh, like I worked for this wizard, and he taught me this. So hearing somebody else, like, I'm like, he's done this to another person. He's done this to what, dozens, hundreds of people, To hear that is just like, you always think like your boss, or your shop is your shop, and then you start learning like the history behind it all, and it's like, oh, you worked here, like my buddy did his apprenticeship there, and it all is. You're right. It's all tied together. So that's really interesting, and I love a good lore dump. Like there's something.
Really
just dump all the lore, put it in a vending machine for all I care. It's like, especially when you're trying to get things done in a timely manner, it's like I eat that stuff up. So I'm glad that we kind of got it like, not in plain words, but something that we could all just kind of experience at once, because we have all these little pieces that are going to be revealed in time. But for everybody to kind of hear that as a group and as a party, it's just like, I was like, yeah, like now we're getting to it,
Yeah. Well, and I definitely wanted to like lean into the field, because I joked about it, I think on a break or something. It's like, most tattooers, if we don't know them personally, we know of each other.
Sure.
And that is super broad, and like, yeah, there's plenty of people that we don't know. But especially in Indiana, not even just my hometown, if they're an Indiana-based artist, if I see a tattoo, I can normally be like, so-and-so did that, didn't they?
Right.
Or, you see a piece and they have such an identifiable style. And I wanted to kind of, I wanted to make that world feel small a little bit for you guys. They're so connected. Because in a lot of ways, it's one of the most amazing experiences, how I met all of you guys.
Sure.
One call turned to Beth that I met online years ago, turned into, hey, I know Kelly Steverson, and he'd love to play. And then, I called another individual who's an amazing artist, and he was like, oh, you should call Andy Large. And then you called Frank, and then it was just like beats of how small this world is. And that's not always a good thing, because as many as the amazing stories have, there's always a few of them that's just never too close to home. Someone that's not a good person that we've all been like, but you try not to mention them. You try not to bring them up, because if you do, you give it life, kind of thing.
Yeah. I want to double down on that and say that even Kassidy and I found out that we were more connected. Like, we live in the same city of Chicago. Like, that obviously doesn't have anything to do with tattooing, but like the tattoos that she has on her, like, I know that tattoo artist. And it was like, oh, you go to that shop? Like, I was just at that shop. I just got tattooed at that shop. So it was like, there's really like a
large overlap of that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
I got
super
some
dope.
thoughts.
Do you have
Let's
thoughts?
hear
I
it.
got some thoughts. It's like, while this was playing out, there was something amazing that I was noticing, and we were all on the same page without talking about it. And it's like, so this is like the second to last episode, and I really feel like this was the one where like everyone's had their breakthrough and their thing, but this was the first time that we all like completely dropped our guard and gelled together. And when we walked into that room, like we're a different group now than we were before.
Yeah.
That's
like,
super true.
Yeah.
That's just the thing. Like, narratively, like, I got to use my intimidation and do things that I normally wouldn't have done in a certain way. And then, like, after you just like let it all out, and talking to Magvar about all these things, like, that was the moment I was like, if I'm going to do this and let you know that I know a lot of things I probably shouldn't know,
Right.
That would be the time to do it. So I just put all my cards on the table and spoke to you.
Sure.
Now, did you know a message before she cast it towards you?
While we were leveling up, I popped that on there when it worked out.
So that is one of my, I would say I've seen a lot of like really cool RPing and stuff. That is one of the, like, when we're talking character progression, I think that just fits Fritz Knarf, so perfectly.
Yeah.
Where he's seen something occur, and he was like,
One time.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that you
It's like,
did that.
well, yeah.
That can be very useful. I'm going to do that now.
And it works perfectly with the whole like old head, new guy kind of concept of like, I didn't trust you. I thought, you don't know, I even set up your station. And now it's grown into like, oh, really? Because I saw you do this once and now I can pick it up, Yeah. So it's like that cool kind of like over time, Yokai's been like, man, this guy's really got some grit to him. He's got some whatever. And, it's just like kind of keeps growing in that direction of like, you always want to give the new guy a hard time. And more often than not, he ends up proving you wrong, which is a great feeling, and then you're like real family. And you're like, all right, I just have your back forever. The end. We're besties now,
Knarf has still only done one tattoo.
Oh, his tattooing sucks.
Yeah.
We can hang out for
It looks
sure.
like that. It's real bad.
Yeah, that's a rendition of what it should look like.
Yeah, that's what my third day of tattooing looked like as well.
My first 5 years.
Was that
good.
good? Yep.
Yeah, but I think
Straight out the
Knarf,
gate, always for that.
I think you're totally right though. Knarf has like the thick skin to be a tattooer. Like,
Yep.
I think it's like tattooing's like a little old school in some ways. Like maybe not every single shop, but I think it's a tough business to get into. It's a tough business to stay in and not get weighed down by the feelings of like intimidation and new industry and I think it's just and I think
Even just the literal stress of doing the job.
Yeah, he could role play either way. He could play that he's like this nervous guy, but it's like he's a confident person. He's doing
Just
this
doing
like
a new thing.
doing this new thing, and I love it. It's like it's like he's showing he's got value and strength after the bus.
I was told something in my apprenticeship that especially your first tattoo is like king of it, and I'm sure everyone here has heard it. It was like my mentor. I was like super nervous, didn't know what the fuck to do. He was like, "Fake it till you make it, man." And I was like, and that was like the epitome of my apprenticeship. And there's things that you can't fake in this industry. You have to make good art and stuff. But Knarf sitting there rolling that one, he goes, "I know exactly what I'm doing." The machine's all jacked up, like.
That was a funny thing because you could have just been like a nat 1. You could be like, But you're like, no, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's like that was such a cool move because you could have just flipped out and you're setting things up and like being nervous, but instead you're just like, yeah, this looks perfect.
Well, you know what? When it comes to
We've all done that.
somebody, there is
Doing that
nothing
right now.
much more than that. Well, yeah.
We've all done that tattoo. You're like, no, I got this. That's the day you screw something up. It's like you should be nervous going into every tattoo, just a little bit.
Every time. I was talking to one of my clients, and they were like, "Oh, do you ever experiment on the tattoos and try new things?" I said, "I'm trying new stuff
Doing it right now."
Yeah,
and they
all
were
the
kind of nervous. They're like, "What?" I was like, "Every tattoo. I'm trying to do something new."
Yep.
Which
The
can
tiniest
be
little details.
Yeah, it could literally be, I don't know, this little hand motion, or maybe I'm going to add a small detail here, or maybe I won't do as much in this area to try and embellish this
Exactly.
the contrast of it.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with trying to always be better.
Right.
And Knarf, he was just like, and all you guys, but Knarf was like, I got this. It's fine. It'll be good. I'm good. So all of
to
this
be
is,
on the bus.
Oh yeah, buddy.
It's great. All right, literally standing outside the doorway to Destiny, to the finale, which your characters would know, but as players, what, and we'll hear from each of you on this, and then we'll cut and we'll see you guys next week. What are your characters willing to sacrifice in the finale?
I want to hear Dara.
Like as you go in, knowing what you know, knowing who might be behind that door, what are your characters willing and not willing to sacrifice?
It all. Like,
Okay.
Dara is willing to sacrifice it all.
Okay.
In like a simple term.
Including herself?
Unfortunately, Dara would. Cassidy, on the other hand, no.
Very attached to Dara.
I am extremely attached to Dara. But yeah, I mean, we've seen Dara in combat. I think she can handle it. But she is not willing to sacrifice everyone else.
Sure.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Sure.
She would easily sacrifice herself over
Easily!
Dara.
Dara, yes, Cassidy.
Cassidy,
Yeah.
no. Cassidy
yes,
might
Cassidy, no.
actually,
She's gonna sacrifice
murder me.
you
Murder me.
if you kill her character off. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice Chad Rowe.
One name.
I hope you are too.
Frank?
I said before, when the time comes, all of my resources are on the table. And I don't think I mean that as much. I didn't mean that as much then as I do now.
Sure.
Even though I meant it when I said it, it took on a new meaning before we walked through that door. So we're going to do what it takes.
Kelly?
I think that Magvar, I think it's probably the same as like everyone at the table. Like I think we're all in it.
Yeah.
Like I think we have really rallied, but I think that the thing that Magvar is it's going to be the hardest for him to sacrifice, and that is the fear of himself. And I think that he's willing to sacrifice that to see like.
Ooh. He's willing to sacrifice
to
the
go.
fear of himself?
Yeah, you know, like we all hang on to these things that
Yeah.
like become
Sure.
parts of our identity that like,
Sure.
you know, what do we do when they're gone?
Yeah.
I like that.
Beth.
Oh, it's tough because like my stories are kind of coming together that I would have done anything to take down the wizard and his curse, hopefully, and you know, finish that revenge arc. But now that it's come all so tightly together, it's kind of on the back burner a little bit. You know, like I would sacrifice my own like insatiable need for vengeance to make sure that we can get our family home safely and with Shy in tow.
Yeah.
Which is tough because that's, I mean, her morning meditation every morning. That's just sit down and start your day with where are we going, what has happened, what are
Yeah.
our goals. So
Yeah.
those goals shifted pretty immediately after Hellbent was taken.
Yeah. Andy.
I'm a cap that wizard though.
Yeah,
I just have would Mickey give up all his secrets to make it stop?
Mickey give up all of his secrets to make it stop. Is that the question?
Yeah. Because I think you would easily give up everything for Hellbent and the people around you.
I think so. I think depending on what that could mean, I think Mickey would maybe be willing to let people see, and if it really meant like that's what it took, you know.
The fact that there's still a maybe there. I
We'll
love
see,
that.
we'll see.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You know, it's Mickey's definitely like, you know, maybe I guess inspired when something happens. You know, so I don't know exactly what kind of reaction like seeing Hellbent is gonna have. You know, it's like he feels like really good right now. We're ganged up, like we're squad
Yeah.
ready, and but yeah, I mean he's super, you know, unpredictable, and yeah, I bet he'd
To a
be
level
willing.
of predictability. at
Yeah,
this point,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I bet he'd be willing to sacrifice quite a bit. I would imagine.
Amazing. All right. Well, that was episode 7.
Season
We will
finale.
see you next week for the finale, episode 8. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
Let's go.